All right. Well, welcome. This is our June session of Ticket Playbook. And this is all about you, the sales rep. This is the modern rep survival guide. I know it's very easy to get overwhelmed and to get burnt out in our industry. I was thinking about it the other day, and between all the forms of communication that we
Oh
have to
yeah.
maintain and manage, between, games, events, meetings, deadlines. I mean, it's a lot. So we're going to talk through kind of what does burnout look like because it's different for everyone and there's lots of different forms of it. And then we're going to talk through some things, practical ideas on how you can protect your energy, right, Bill? And then, give you hopefully some tools and tips or things you can start with today that can help you keep sanity, if that's possible, right?
That's right. And I want to congratulate each of you for being here. I think it
Yeah.
takes a little bit of courage to say, I would like to have some help with this. Sometimes we feel as though we're invincible and we're supposed to figure everything out on our own in a personal sense. But this has now become to the forefront. Mental health has become an enormously important issue, not just for the players, but for the people who sell those players and are selling these seats like we do. And so thank you for recognizing that maybe there are some things you can do to perhaps avoid some sort of an event in your life and to be able to be at your best at peak performance.
Absolutely. Great point, Bill. So let's start the conversation about what does burnout look like? Bill, both you and I have been in and around the industry for a long time. We've seen burnout like by with other people. We've also probably both felt burnout. I will raise my hand that I'm actually in a phase right now where my personal and professional life is kicking my butt. So I am, between travel and all the things, I'm on the verge of that myself. So, what does it look like? What are the signs? What are the things that you can like know in yourself that you got to say, "Hey, I got to step back. I got to take some time for me or I've got to readjust." Like what are some of the signs that you've seen?
Well, I've seen things like friends always ask you to go out and you can't because you have so much to do that you've chosen to do, not necessarily because the team has asked you to be there, but you have to catch up.
Yeah.
I've seen relationships suffer a little bit because of too much of one
Yeah.
thing that you're working in. If there's a little bit more complaining from a significant other, that might be time to readjust and reassess,
Mhm.
where your priorities might be. If you have difficulty sleeping with the challenges
Yeah.
that you have on the following day, that can also be a sign that perhaps you need to slow down a little bit or find some other option to be able to, reshuffle and refocus. Those are the three I
Yeah.
recommend right away. If you see those, you ought to
I
be.
was, yeah, I always find too, like if you can't step away from this or you can't separate from that at some point, that inbox, the texting, you don't have those boundaries built around that. I find like that's also can be a telltale sign that it's like, whoa, this is becoming too much. Yeah, I agree. There's lots of signs. Any other thoughts like from, anyone that wants to like say, hey, this is a sign I've seen in someone else on my team, or hey, this is the one sign that I know, hey, I got to take a break. It's okay. This is a safe space. And I know, Amita, anything that you want to add that you've seen or know? I mean, I know, Emmanuel, prior to their Spinzo life, you worked at a very fast-paced industry of consulting and traveled. I mean, I'm sure you saw a lot of burnout in that industry.
Well, I found for myself, and I don't know if this is TMI, but like my body couldn't digest food properly, actually. Like my stomach was hurting and things. And this is like an actual thing I'd learned
Mhm.
over time. When you're very stressed and have too much on your mind, your body can't get into, I don't know, it's like the parasympathetic nervous system. And so that's a problem too. So no
Mhm.
matter what you change, you could eat healthy, but your body is just not going to consume the nutrients that you're stressed. So
Yeah,
that's another thing.
great point.
Yeah, and I'll just add that prior to this job, I worked for a company where I worked like nonstop. I would actually take my laptop with me everywhere. People would get so mad at me, like my friends, if I went out to dinner, I'd have my laptop with me. It was kind of embarrassing. So, yeah, like you just got to know when to separate like your personal life from your work life. And I've done that now, but I did not do that in my previous role.
Yeah, no, it definitely can get that way. If you don't have that ability to separate or you physically can't separate, that's a path that's a path going the wrong direction, not something that where you want to be. Any other thoughts on different things that are triggering burnout? I think for me too, I find like there's times where I'll make more mistakes in the work that I'm doing, and I know that that's a sign that I'm exhausted or just don't have the same focus that I normally do. So that's also another kind of telltale sign for me when things are coming that direction. So what do we do though when this happens? What kinds of things can we put into place to help protect us um, before we get to that point? Or when we get to that point, what are some of the things we should do to kind of turn ourselves around?
Yeah, I think as we discussed, or we've had some notes going back and forth before this session, I think you made a great point about the difference between being busy and being
Oh,
effective.
yeah.
And I think all of us understand the difference between the two. I think sometimes we want our bosses to think that we're busy all the time because that means that we're moving toward the goals that the organization has. But sometimes looking at the busyness of a day and really breaking that down and seeing how effective am I being at some
Hmm.
of this busy work that I'm being done, or could it be done differently and perhaps more efficiently in another way? I think that's one of the things that, as people look back and say, how can I heal myself and move in that
Yeah.
direction that we want to, that maybe that's the first place to start.
I agree. And I think it's going back to like what are your priorities or what's most important now? There's always things on a to-do list. Like you can have a to-do list a mile long of things that you want to do or need to do. But what are the things that you need to that what are the things that are most important? And when you think about a role like a sales rep role, I mean it's bringing in revenue. It's those, revenue producing types of functions that need to be prioritized. And I think too, the other piece about effective or busy, we all know like when we are best. Like I'm a morning person. You hit me 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like that's when my like I that I'm not hitting my stride. I hit my stride at 8, 9 a.m. in the morning. So my most important task that I know I need to do, I do around that time. Because again, talking about being effective, that's when I'm most effective. So I've got to do my top priority things when I'm most effective.
Yeah, we've talked, and I talk a lot about dividing up your day into A, B, and C priorities,
Mhm.
where an A priority is stuff that's important and urgent, meaning it's got to be done right away and it's got to be done, with some urgency attached to it. So it's something like you've just sold a group of seats.
Mhm.
You got to put that in. You got to make sure that nobody else sells that. So that's an immediate thing. That's that's an important and urgent thing.
Yeah.
The B list becomes it's important or urgent. So
Mhm.
it might be really important to put in the paperwork for that, but it might not be as urgent as some other things like writing it up on the board or doing something else to be able to make that happen. And maybe that's a bad example, but I think everyone would understand that either important or urgent, and that becomes a B list.
Mhm.
And then the C list becomes most important because this is the list that is the stuff that can wait until later.
Yeah.
I have the habit of really liking to do graphics. I'm not very good at it, but I really like it. And it takes me longer than most people should. And it's one of those things I love to dabble in. I really enjoy Canva and some of the things that it does, but I could certainly delegate that to someone that can do a whole lot better job more efficiently or at a different time. Not at during the day, 9 to 5. That might be something I can do while I'm watching TV at night or something like that. So
Mhm.
those C items on your list sometimes can be real killers in your day because there's some things you really like to do, but aren't getting you to pass those A and B priorities. And so if you're constantly working on stuff you really like, but then letting A and B deadlines get away from you, that really needs to be
Mhm.
prioritized and can really help you from burnout.
Absolutely. I also think, prioritizing tasks or chunking tasks into like things. So like, hey, if you have follow-up emails, set a time and send all your follow-up emails at one time. Can you create a template that you can easily just customize and go? So you're creating kind of some streamlined strategies for yourself. So you aren't spending a huge amount of time or your mind is focused on the same type of thing for a specific time frame, and it makes it a lot easier and more digestible.
That's great. Yeah, I think sometimes people put too many things on their to-do lists as well. If you have a to-do list that has 41 things on it, you're going to be very stressed going home thinking that you only got 8 of those done.
Yeah.
If you can parse that out and say, here's today's A and B list,
Yeah.
and divide that out from all the other stuff that you have, not that you want to forget about them, but it becomes really challenging to try and focus on any one thing if you have all these other 41 things on your mind as you're doing that. It's a mental thing that allows you to focus on that one. And all of us have been in that flow situation where things are easier because you're just in that moment. Your brain is really on fire and it's doing the right things at the right times. And to your point, Denise, sometimes it's good to batch those things together. If you're going to make a call list and you're going to do some cold calls that day, do 30 minutes of cold calls, one after the other. It's called, actually, a Pomodoro is what it's called, for those who know the situation. This guy in Italy developed the system of 30 minutes, and you do it only 30 minutes at a time. And you don't answer the phone. You don't answer emails. You all have that little droop that comes up when the email comes in. We all can't help but think, oh, I wonder if there's some money there. And you have to hold back and not do that for 30 minutes so that you're able to enter into that flow. And some of the teams I've worked with in training have actually had little yellow cards that they put on the outside of their desks, or red cards that say, hey, I'm in a Pomodoro right now. Don't bother me. Because the things that can really bother us from time to time, and we don't mean to, it's the whole got a minute thing. You know, you're somebody
else. It turns into an hour.
Oh my gosh, it totally restricts your flow, and you don't get to the things that are really important for you. So be a little more cautious of how you give your time away to others. And a Pomodoro is a really effective way to do that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it can be so easy to get caught in a conversation and never get to where you need to be and get things done. And sometimes, working from home, there's an environment where you aren't being distracted by people, but there's other things around your house that can get you distracted, so it's really important to find those focus points and be able to, and even just a short period of time, half an hour, like that's not a lot, that's not a long time. I mean, it is a long time, and you can be very effective in a half an hour, but we're not, you're not asking to be blocked away from the world for hours on end. It's literally just short bursts of focused effort.
There's one thing that I think everybody here can relate to, and it's overindulging in non-productive conversations at work. All right, the World Cup is going on right now. Oh, did you see that goal against blah, blah, blah? And all of a sudden it becomes this big water cooler conversation that everybody's talking about. Well, who's the best? Is France the best team? Is something else? And somehow it's this urge that you have to jump into this and put your 2 cents in. Boy, if I could add just one piece of advice here, try and avoid some of that stuff. It doesn't mean you can't be social in the office, but don't make it so overly so that it takes 20 minutes to figure out who the top team is in the world. And you're not going to figure it out anyway in that 20 minutes. Have a few minutes, enjoy some conversation, but get back to work. And don't be the one that's called out for being too chatty at work. We used to call them grinders in my day, where you were just sitting there on the phones, you were just had blinders on, and you were just making things happen. It doesn't have to be that strict, but you certainly have to be cognizant of that. And boy, you can waste a lot of time in idle chatter.
Yeah, I remember. So, when I was young in my career, I didn't have a lot of responsibility outside of work. Work was my life. So I didn't mind being at the office from 7 to 7. But as I, got married, had children, I had pretty strict deadlines as to when I could get into the office and when I left the office. So I found that I started to protect my time. Like, you can do your job within the confines of that time, even maybe less, if you are super productive during that time. But if you want to go spend an hour talking about who's the best team in the World Cup, then you're not able to maximize what you need to get done. So totally agree with you. And I think it's important for you to, kind of build those boundaries in your office around hey, I got to get stuff done today because I got to be out of here at whatever time it is.
Yeah. And make that appointment with yourself. If you were making an appointment with somebody, you would stay true to that. And you would show up. Well, if you decided you need to leave at a certain time, make that promise to yourself and keep it so that you actually are able to live with that decision. There are
Yeah.
two other tools that I really like to use that are very simple, and I hope everyone will take down these because they're really effective. Before you leave at night, make an appointment with yourself to write down, and I'm not sure what the magic is, but the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow morning. What are they? Write them down here. And this is the only piece of paper that exists on your desk when you leave. And I know for some of you, you're thinking, oh, that will take 30 minutes to get all the pieces of paper off my desk. But when you come in at the end, in the beginning of the day, you now have those 6 things. And here's what's working for you. Your subconscious, because you wrote that down the night before, your subconscious is already working on ways in which to make those things happen while you sleep. And you don't even know it because you took the time to write them down. The worst thing that can happen is for you to walk in the morning at 8:30 or whenever you get there and sit at your desk and say, so what am I going to do today? Have that
Yeah.
sheet of paper in front of you. And to that end is the second thing that I recommend for all the teams I work with, and that's what's called 10 by 10. This was shared with me by Doug Quinn, who worked with the NFL for many years, and this was a standard within the NFL for many years. It was 10 calls at least by 10 o'clock, no exceptions. Now, I say no exceptions. You might have a meeting that you have to go to or something else that the team is doing.
Yeah.
But to get to at least 10 calls by 10 in the morning puts the morning in the right frame of mind. And you're not idling around talking about the World Cup and all the other things that can get in the way of you being productive right away. If you get a great start to the day, chances are you'll have a great rest of the day. It's where we stumble in the morning more than anything else, even though our productivity is very high, as Denise said. So those are the 2 tools that I would recommend really adapting right away to help you lose some of this overwhelm and perhaps save some of your mental health.
Yeah, 100%. I love those. I mean, to your point of making an appointment with yourself, I do sometimes add things to my calendar that are specific of like, okay, during this time frame, this is what I'm working on. This is during this time frame, this is what I'm working on, so that I can, focus in and keep track of, what I'm doing things. I also, to the same point, to help avoid burnout, I also have my gym time on our calendar. I know a number of us do at our company. Like we put that on there. That's important. We're taking that time. I think it's also important to, know yourself. And while it can be very easy to eat your lunch at your desk all the time and continue to work through lunch, is that the best use of giving your brain a break and giving yourself a break? So, take your lunch breaks. I mean, it doesn't have to be every single day if you do like to be more productive during your lunchtime, but take a moment to step away. It's okay. You deserve that. That's a part of, your working day. And I think to that point, take your vacation time. I know it's not a badge of honor to have vacation days at the end of the year. Even if you get paid out for them, it is much more impactful for you to be able to take those days away to reset. You will be better for yourself and better for your company if you are taking those days.
What a great point. And it's even without the vacation days, if you put those aside for just a moment, to have a life outside of work, I think is really important. To join a softball team or a book club or get together with your people that play Magic the Gathering or something, whatever it is that you do, to get away from the office for just a little while and recharge is really vital to getting a better night's sleep, first of all, and not worrying about what's waiting for you there the next morning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts that they want to chime in? I know Bill and I are rolling here, but I want to be cognizant. If you want to ask questions anonymously, you can send them directly to me too, and I can throw questions out to the group. Bill, one other question that I is thinking about is like, how do you, obviously there's lots of tools and tricks you can do yourself, but if you are getting to the point where you are at burnout, how do you approach that with, say, your manager and having that conversation? What's like, have you any thoughts on like how to kind of walk that conversation and say, hey, I'm gonna raise my hand, like I'm struggling, right? Most of us don't want to show weakness or vulnerability in the work environment. So what's the best way to do that? Or do you recommend not doing that and just trying to tackle it with your own, practical
It's a
ideas?
great point. I think if you have a reasonable manager, I think you should meet with them. And I say that with all the love and affection for those who are managers. There are a few that are unreasonable. I can't speak to them, but if you have one that is reasonable, to ask for 5 minutes one-on-one. Please do not do this in a group setting, okay? This is a personal thing between your
Yeah.
manager and yourself. To be open and honest about how you're feeling, and to ask that manager, has there been anything you have seen about my behavior or my performance that you think would help me in this? Allow the manager to suggest some things to you that you might incorporate into your daily routine. He or she may see something right now that could be done very simply to alleviate some of that stress. Maybe he or she tells you, well, you could delegate this and this and this over here. I believe that that sort of honesty actually helps people in their career path to show that they have vulnerability, and allows someone to understand, how they're working, and it isn't just nose to the grindstone, but that you add a human touch to that. That's my
100%. 100%. I think having the human touch is really important. And I think on the flip side, as a manager, it's really important in those one-on-one conversations to make sure that you're asking, how are you? I mean, numbers, yes, you're gonna address numbers and go through those things, but I think it's always important to ask that question of like, how are you? How is everything going? And not just how is everything going in the office, because I think everything that's happening outside the office also affects your performance inside the office. And so being able to see the whole person and have that human relationship is really important.
Yeah.
Really, really important.
And for those managers that are here today, gosh, I hope you're here. Have some empathy for those individuals who are going through some of these very human the conditions that they're in right now. It wasn't all that long ago that you were in their shoes.
Yeah.
And you may have had some of those things that you said, oh, I just worked through it. I toughed it out. I think there's more of a recognition now that the priority toward the whole body mental health thing is really important, for not just for your own edification as a leader and for the organization, but just for them individually. And, if you want people to work hard for you as a leader, you will recognize those things that they need from you, because your role now as a leader is not to sell and do all that stuff. Your new customers are now the people that you lead. And so it's almost like customer service. How can I serve this customer of mine in the best way possible? And it may be a one-on-one to help them alleviate some of this stress.
Awesome. We have a question, Bill. So question is, after taking the time to come back from a burnout moment, what advice would you have to slowly coming back into the work without repeating the same cycle? So you've had burnout, you've walked away, you've taken your moment. How do you manage not repeating the same cycle?
Yeah, it's difficult to answer that without knowing what caused the burnout in the first place.
Yes, true.
So I think more than anything else, I would, now that you've had a chance to step back, to recognize or even ask a peer or two what it is that they may have seen in you that might have caused the demise of your mental health or whatever it is that was going on, and allow them to maybe help you as a mentor to say, hey, I'll help you through this. And it may take that in the first week or two. And it might not be a manager. It might be someone who really is a cubicle next to you. You get a lot of interesting relationships that form with people in this, tight clique that you have. I mean, you're only working 6 feet away from people. You can't hardly get away from them sometimes. And sometimes great relationships form in that. And
100%.
And caring comes from that too. And so I might start there, and beyond, getting really specific, asking them, but also asking the significant others in your life, your peers, your, people that you don't work with. What they have done and what they might suggest, and then take some of that advice and run with it.
I think it's also good to, I'm a big journal. I like to journal. So journaling, ask yourself the question, why did I get to this burnout moment? And then whatever you write down, ask the question again, why? Why did I get there? Why? Is it because I'm not taking my lunch break? Is it because I'm not putting boundaries on my work hours? Is it because I'm engaging in conversations that that are taking me away from actually accomplishing what I need to accomplish? Is it because I set unreasonable goals for myself and that's not, I think it's a really important for you to dig into yourself and understand why you got to that place. And then be able to step back and say, okay, this is why I got there. These are the 3 things that were reasons why I got there. So then you have to be extremely cognizant as to, those triggers and put rules around them. It's easier said than done. I preach to the choir because I am the worst at some of this stuff, and try to take on, yes, I'm a yes person to a lot of things, but I think that's another piece too, is knowing when to say no, and saying no is okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't have the, or you don't even have to say no. It's, I don't have the capacity for that right now. So, being able to say I don't have the capacity for that right now is okay.
Yes. And I like the way you phrase that. It isn't like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I just can't fit it into all the things, though, the priorities that I have right now. And many
Mhm.
of us are pleasers. We don't want to
Yes.
disappoint someone. You want to be able to have that. And there is some rush that people get from doing different things. It's a kind of
Mhm.
a fun thing. They can go over here, but that becomes a C priority versus your A's and B's. Stuff you want to do versus stuff that really urgently needs to be done and done now. So be careful of falling into that trap of doing too many of the things you love and not the things that really move the needle.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All this stuff is, I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir as we have this conversation, because there's a lot of these pit holes I fall into as being
All,
vulnerable.
all of us. I've talked about all this, and I've had every single one of these happen to me. And
Yeah.
so, for those who are listening and you're thinking, well, geez, these guys, they're perfect. How can I measure up to that?
Oh,
No, that's why we put this together, because
yeah.
we understand them from first person experience.
Yeah.
And, we're still working on them individually, but these are the things that we see on a regular basis in our own work lives that others have accomplished and we personally have applied with success. And we hope that you will too.
Mhm. So we're coming to the end of our time. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So let's talk about just a couple key things that, like, what can people implement like tomorrow, or tonight, right? I think one of them is being able to, at the end of the day, 6 things that you need to do the next morning. I love that. I haven't done it that way. I've always just made a mile long to-do list. So I am going to use that 6 things. So I have that at my desk tomorrow morning. What else?
There sometimes we get in a rush in the morning because stuff goes wrong. We find a stain on our shirt, or our shoe breaks or something like that. And one of the things that I suggest, it sounds really simple but can really help a lot, is make sure you lay out your outfit that you're going to wear tomorrow morning before you go to bed. Make sure
Yeah.
they don't have any stains on them, or they're ironed, or whatever they need to be, so that you're not racing the clock in the morning to try to get yourself ready with your clothing. It's already out there and ready to go, so you don't have that delay. Make sure you have enough gas in your car, right? If you're going home and you're not going to have enough to get back to work, well, don't deal with that. If you do it in the morning, you're going to probably get yourself behind because there'll be more people at the pump. Just more preparation is
Yeah.
more than anything else. And get a good night's sleep. Don't do the benders of Fortnite or whatever you do, and then expect that you're going to be at your best after having a 6-hour game and you went to bed at 3 in the morning. Just
Yes.
some of the common sense stuff. But those are the things I found to be really more effective than I would have expected with the groups that I work with.
Yeah, 100%. I think prioritizing yourself and your body, your health goes a long way to avoiding burnout and making sure that you can perform at your best in your role and in your job. So, thank you everyone for joining this week. Hopefully you got a few tips. Next month will be July 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Keep me honest, Emmanuel and Meaden, if I said that time right, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be talking about AI. We're talking about the role of AI in the sales world. And Mr. Bilkertine has some expertise on that because he's got a few tools that he's rolled out. But we're going to talk about how do you use it, what tools are out there, and how do you, make the most of it helping you achieve your goals. So you can go to ticketplay.com to register now, and you will get some more information about it in the coming weeks.
Great.
Thank you guys.
Let us know how helpful this was for you. And I appreciate your comment, Britt. Super helpful.
Yes, thank you,
Before you
Brett.
head out, let's put a little thing in there. This is what you took away that you found valuable. We would really appreciate that on our end. We want to be sure that we're creating things that are helpful and useful for you. And it just helps us along the way to continue to provide this sort of material on an ongoing basis.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. You guys were
Fantastic.
yeah, appreciate everyone being here, especially with a topic like this that can be a little airy-fairy. But I think as you apply some of these things today, I think you will see differences in the way in which you approach things.
Yes, Brett, you need to use PTO.
Yes, use your PTO and have fun with it. Heck, go to some other sporting event or go to a concert or something else. It's something that juices you. This is, you have to be able to have something that you look forward to in addition to whatever you're grinding out at work.
Yeah, I try to cherry pick my PTO for the summertime, and so definitely need to use it more during the season. So my 10th season with the Hawks, so it's crazy that I'm finding this out now, but I'm definitely going to be
Yeah.
using this for next season.
But find ways to take like a 3-day weekend in the season when the
Right.
team's on the road. Those types of things can really be helpful, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
Very
you.
welcome. Thank you for that. And thank you, Natasha. I appreciate
Yes,
your
love it,
comment, too.
Natasha.
And
All
any
right.
others that have it, we're welcome to take that just for a minute or so. But gosh, it was great to have all of you here. We wish you the best. If we don't talk to you before then, of course, happy 4th of July holiday. Maybe you could take some time off then. Who knows?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ryan. Love that you got that. Awesome. All right, everyone. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Guys.